Growing up, I was a pretty odd child. There was something about me that was special or unique, something that a lot of adults around me couldn't quite put their finger on. There was no specific category that I would fit into, no role or status that I was expected to reach. We were all kids, innocent and curious about the world. But there was always something different with me. I got along with the boys just as well as I got along with the girls. The boys would play with cars and gun toys, while I played with dolls and doll houses. I was softer and often more emotional. While the boys would take their games outside to the fields, I would be alone, quietly inside, writing something up that no one knew of, like a birthday card for a best friend, something that would eventually be thrown away, and probably something that was seen as wasteful. There were so many moments where I realized that what I was didn't seem right to others. When I was in daycare, I was so small and barely developed, I'd say. My mum still noticed something peculiar. She was worried about why I wasn't playing, roughly, aggressively. Why I was so drawn to the softer aspects of play, and the girls rather than the boys. At this young age, of course I wasn't conscious of what I was doing, yet my mum noticed. She became worried, and her concern led her to ask one of the supervisors at that time, "Why is my son so different?" The lady replied in such a way that was beautiful and reassuring. She said that it meant that I would grow up with more compassion and that I was just more sensitive. She framed it in a good way, something that was much more positive than concerning. My behavior to her was something unique and showed a possibility of leading a life of kindness. She believed that it meant I'd grow to leave that aggression, so common among men, behind. This was a story that my mom told me later on, and she told it with pride and excitement, as if she had succeeded in raising the most compassionate son. Moving on as I grew a little older, there was nothing that separated me from other boys, other than some hobbies like sports versus arts or Beyblades versus swinging on the playground. There were so many things that me and other boys had in common that we could connect through. Our shared sense of self, the idea that we would grow together and unite as a group, was something so healthy and just happened naturally among kids. I had made some of the best friends in my life, some that would stick around and those that would eventually leave. And that eventual change came during my teens. That shared sense of self, that connection that was made over the most subtle emotions, had begun to be replaced. It was replaced by desire, a drive towards success, something that we didn't really think about before as children. Success for us boys became less about understanding other people and forming connections, rather more focused on achieving something higher, greater, and of more importance. I won't go into specifics, but to say the least, the traditional ideologies of gender and culture had become the trademark for every boy's future. These social expectations began to lead us to a very confusing destination, a goal that couldn't be seen, yet was driven towards with such tenacity and aggression. There's the tame things based on specific actions, like boys don't cry and boys don't wear or play with or interact with feminine things. And these were part of broader expectations, such as the way we presented ourselves, our voice, our demeanor, the things we were interested in, were all to be maintained to basically fit the average. The average male was our standard, and this average standard was created by societal rules, not our natural collective state. I mean, for me, it was pretty confusing and unreasonable as a child. Every boy began to obsess over football, quote unquote, games for men, and the need to achieve assets that were important, such as the respect you earned for being masculine enough and achieving enough attention from women. That became the average, and you became an outlier when you didn't do one of the few things I just mentioned. It was a strict, unspoken code that was followed not out of decision, but subconsciously, like it was written into the programming of every single little boy that turned into a teenager. I grew up during the pandemic, and it didn't make any of this better. Making these teenage boys spiral in homes with social media made them learn the furthest extremes of conservatism from idols like Andrew Tate, and these ideologies became the new norm. I lost several friends during this period of middle school. I was ridiculed, laughed at, and seen as less than for not being as direct, as coarse, or as harsh with my words as they were. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't speak up for myself, and I genuinely obeyed every single rule there was to be a man. I was feminine, understanding, and in the face of these kids, pushover. However, there was just a part of me that I could not abandon, and that was the child that I had carried for the last decade before those moments. I knew that that was the true me, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. There were a few people, of course, that were naturally leaning outside of these expectations, but they were rare and they weren't different enough to be completely excluded. That's where I come in. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I had unknowingly strayed from every single rule that was worshipped. Not only did I naturally incline to non gender conforming feminine aspects of myself, I didn't hesitate to reject parts of me that weren't true to myself. I couldn't afford to act more masculine or change things about myself. I found out I didn't like or wasn't attracted to girls pretty early in middle school, which was already a pivotal part of masculinity, basically taken from me without my will. I wasn't surprised, shocked, or annoyed when I realized this fact. I was just okay. After all, it's feelings and it's the same way boys would crush on girls, and I didn't see anything wrong with myself. That was until I had discovered the true situation and the perceptions that these simple feelings have gotten from the world for simply existing. That's for a whole nother video though. This meant, however, that everything I changed about myself was the outside version, the external perception people had of me. That was something that needed to change if I wanted to achieve anything in life. Friends, relationships, love, and belonging. My true identity came at an expense, and I was a child. Of course, I was willing to maintain a double life to secure these things that were so valuable to me. But for some reason, I never felt the pressure. I would come home after a day of acting and return to my normal self. I'd play the games I want to play, wear the things I want to wear, and there was no one that could stop me except myself. There was no outside voice telling me I was wrong for straying. So even though I was so different from everyone else, no one really outright targeted me. No one saw me as a big issue. So my experience may be different, a little more laid back from a lot of others that have gone through a similar childhood. These calm days of living a sort of double life eventually and not surprisingly led to an extended period of an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was, and honestly, I don't think I fully know who I am now. It's easy not to really know anything when everything that you were supposed to know was shoved down by yourself, all for survival. When you fail to meet every single thing that is required of you as a man, you question yourself. Was there something in my life that I missed? I thought that maybe I had been raised wrong, or maybe I was too close to my mother or sister that led me to being this way. Was I assaulted, or a word I can't say, in my childhood? A memory that I can't remember? Am I traumatized? The case that is so commonly used to explain the absence of masculinity within boys. But it wasn't that either, and unlike the stereotype of having a missing or unstable father in the house, I had a pretty solid relationship with my dad. At that point, there was only one hope I had, and one thing I knew, which was that I wasn't in the wrong. And even though I knew this eventually, it was so frustrating knowing that there was nothing I could do to reverse it or change it. Every time I would see these boys in their united groups, all interconnected, the envy would kill me. And if I'm being honest, the envy turned into hatred and apathy in some forms. Even now, I hear about perfectly masculine men speaking about their completely valid experiences of not belonging in life, and I completely reject the fact that they were in any sort of suffering. It was painful, and I would do anything to get that sense of security, a sense of belonging that most men seem to have. But I had none of it. Of course, I did have a few friends that stuck around, but even they, in some way, hurt me. They denied parts of me that were true, just to be accepted by the majority. And can I blame them? They were able to achieve that masculine identity, while I couldn't. If hypothetically I could achieve it, who am I to say that I wouldn't abandon everything to get it? I have so much guilt for something that I never chose. When I walk along streets and see men chatting amongst themselves, or a man walking in the aisle with his girlfriend, or an old couple relaxing in the park, I feel terrible. I feel that I've rejected all of what makes you a man. It's the type of grief that is subtle and unexplainable, like you lost something within you that was never there to begin with. A lie that you know is a lie, yet you hold it between your palms like your life depended on it, and it fell from your hands and shattered into a million pieces. But something that I knew for a fact was that none of this was my choice. This thought piece is pretty overused, but if we think for a moment, who in the world would choose this? This is a life of constant exclusion, comparison, self-hatred, grievance, hurt, and suffering when you're in the environment that condemns your very existence. You suffer so much that you no longer exist. You become a shadow of yourself, which happened to me. You can end up living day to day, waiting for some magic to happen, a miracle to change you. It's a life I would never wish on anyone, so why would I choose this myself? Though I'm not completely secure in anything, and I know anything can change, I know there are many people like me. So many people despise people like us, seek to destroy our confidence and the light of our lives. This isn't just not fitting in with men, it's something more like not being a man at all. And when that thought is played in your head over and over again, you're destined to think that you will never be useful to the world at all. But I'm okay with that. I mean, what really is being a man? I could ask one of my very masculine friends that had denied me during those times this same question, and they'd give a simple answer. It could be one pertaining to strength, resilience, and the duty to protect and provide. But I think there are much more important questions to ask, such as, what really is being human? If I don't know the answer to this, I'll keep seeking it. I'll keep asking around, but one thing I know I won't do is approach the exact people whose compassion, empathy, and spirituality has been consumed by the very values they uphold. If these people are men, I don't wish to be a man. Not that anyone gets to define what a man is, but it's not a label anyone should feel secure in. If you are proud saying that you're a man, and that it gives you an edge above someone else, I'm afraid there are many things in your life as a human that you haven't taken into consideration. Better yet, aren't even developed enough to be proud of. If being a man is all it takes to make you proud, then is there really anything of substance that you can give to help the world? It's kind of like as Arthur Schopenhauer said, the cheapest sort of pride is national pride. For if a man is proud of his own nation, it argues that he has no qualities of his own of which he can be proud.